Welcome back to Crypto Bits. I'm your host, Brittany, and today we have Taylor Searle. Searle?
It's Searle.
Searle.
Imagine the word girl, but replace the G with an S. Searle.
Searle.
Yeah.
Taylor Searle joining us. Welcome to the show, Taylor. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just recently got back from Las Vegas at the CES conference. And before that conference, I was actually in Las Vegas for my alma mater was playing in a bowl game. And I was on the front row right behind the home bench. And I was yelling at the referees. And I think I damaged my vocal cords because my voice has been messed up ever since then and hasn't come back. So I'm either sick or my vocal cords are messed up. So hopefully this works.
And how was the convention? Because you sound fine right now.
The conference was pretty good. It was, I don't know what the stats are in terms of attendance, but it was obviously not as well attended as in previous years because of COVID. There was several places where there would have been booths, but it was just empty. And the foot traffic was a lot less than other conferences I've been to. So it turned out to be good because it gave quite an opportunity to have some good conversations with people. And there wasn't really a line of people to talk to. It was more just a steady stream of good conversations. I would liken it to, I was in Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse all day long because it was just talking to people about Bitcoin SV and the relationship with Built by Gamers and onboarding people to Hand Cash and to Haste Arcade. And so it was a fun time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I wanted to start off with a little bit about how you got involved in Bitcoin. So
well, the story is that I came across Bitcoin in either 2014 or 2015. And whenever Coinbase was brand new, and I went into Coinbase and bought one BTC and just kind of to experiment. And then the price, it's whenever the price had a run up and then a sharp tank. I don't know if it was around the time of Mt. Gox or whatever. I just remember the price went down and it was like $200 or something. So I was like, this is dumb. So I sold it. And then my little brother actually came to me because he was doing in college for an English class, he was doing a report and he decided to make Bitcoin his topic of his semester-long report. He came to me and was talking to me about it. And I said, that thing's dumb. And so I kind of dismissed it again then. And then a friend of mine who was an intern working for me came and said, hey, you should really look at this blockchain stuff. It's pretty cool. And I was like, I already looked at that. It's dumb. So then in the beginning of 2017, I wanted to make some bets on an online casino. And I saw that you could withdraw Bitcoin at like your winnings in Bitcoin. So I said, okay, fine. I'll go back and figure out what my Coinbase login is so that I can withdraw my winnings in Bitcoin. And I don't remember what the thought was, but I just got sucked into it and started learning all about it. And it was right at the time of the BTC SegWit 2X upgrade. And so I came into it at a very confusing time because it's like, hey, there's all these factions and I don't know which one I align with. I just, what's going on here? And then when that whole war happened and there was a split to Bitcoin Cash, I remember really aligning with the arguments of Roger Ver and thinking, the big block argument really resonates with me, and the idea of, hamstringing it didn't make sense to me. So I started to align with what became the Bitcoin Cash community. And so I really jumped into everything with both feet and went around to all my friends and kind of passed the hat around, and we raised some money and went and started a mining operation. So we rented a warehouse like 4,000 square foot warehouse, and got air conditioning installed, and we bought amp miners. I think we spent like over $100,000 on amp miners and set them up. And this was in 2017, I believe. It was whenever the market went up to 20K.
Yeah.
And so I was mining BTC and BCH, and I bought like a Monero miner, and I was mining Litecoin, and I was mining Dash. What's the other one I bought? It was like Sia coin. I even bought a machine for that. So I was mining all kinds of stuff, and then the market crashed. And I live in Arizona. And when the market crashed in Arizona, where it's hot, the heating or the cooling costs of the miners was like $20,000 a month.
Oh God.
And so, and the market crashed, and it's like, looks like that experiment failed. So I sold all my amp miners and went bankrupt with that venture, and kind of, well, lesson learned there. I'm not doing mining anymore. So from there, I just started looking into, all right, what do I do now? And that's just about the time that the BCH BSV community, like the fracture in the BCH community, was happening. And I haven't told Jerry Chan about this, but I actually listened to a mining summit that happened in Asia somewhere, where Jerry Chan was talking and making an argument about why we needed to have unbounded blocks. And I just, at that moment, said, whatever side Jerry's on, I'm on, because whatever he said resonated with me about enterprise level adoption and needing for, protocol that's set. And so I guess from that moment, I became a BSV advocate. And, when the chain split happened, I moved all my BCH coins into BSV and became full on BSV Kool-Aid drinker, and have been a very stalwart member of the cult ever since then.
And as I understand it, you're working with Built by Gamers now. How did you fall into esports? Was that something that you were part of, like a part of prior to Bitcoin, or was that something that you fell into, as a result of?
So my career is in private equity, and I'll just say entrepreneurship. And me and my brothers have a little family office that we do ventures with. And I went through kind of a career in a traditional sense, in public accounting and then in finance, and I worked at a private equity firm. And my goal was always, when I started to really take interest in blockchain, my goal was always to help figure out how to build a bridge between the traditional financial world and the blockchain crypto world, because a lot of the people in crypto are a certain a kind of sophistication about them that's different than the traditional enterprise world. And I saw that there's this delta between them. And I kind of, it's always been a goal of mine to try and bridge that and help shepherd traditional finance towards the blockchain ecosystem. And so I tried a few different ways. I tried to figure out some use cases for blockchain within some companies that I was working with, and ultimately nothing really caught. But then my little brother started Built by Gamers, so he founded it, and I was an early investor and advisor for it. And it finally got to a place where I told them what blockchain could do for their business plan, and it kind of clicked that the business plan of Built by Gamers is to really build a community behind our talent in the pro gaming scene, and also our content creators and content creation activities, I saw that there could really be a synergy and that the blockchain technology could really unlock some potential use cases. So I pitched it internally to the other partners in Built by Gamers, and they all saw the potential. And so we started hatching plans of saying, okay, how can we do this? So I've always been approaching Built by Gamers as, hey, I'm a huge BSV advocate. I don't want to force Built by Gamers to use it because I'm not the only owner and I'm not the only partner, and there's other interests, and I don't want to, make Built by Gamers adopt my pet project. So I had to really approach Built by Gamers almost like an arm's length approach, where I was pitching them on the idea, like I was a neutral third party, and then they love the idea. And so I've kind of taken on this role of a strategic advisor that's advising them on how to implement it, how to use it. And so part of that whole journey was, well, let's reach out to all the different people in the ecosystem and see if we can't make some partnerships and see what makes sense. And I'm just going to continue telling this story.
That's fine.
Because I figured you'd end up asking these questions. But so in the BSV community, I'm really a nobody and I'm not like some established player in the space or anything. So I started reaching out to a lot of people in the space saying, hey, I just want to hear about your project. And, I didn't tell anybody about Built by Gamers, really. I was just trying to build relationships. And so I reached out to several people and started talking. And then when I found people that seemed like they were collaborative and really wanted to help kind of build a community, I said, hey, there's this Built by Gamers thing. Can we, there might be something there where we could have some aligned interests and, do something together. So ultimately it ended up the Hand Cash team and the Haste Arcade team and Unbounded Enterprises or Nifty Jigs team kind of became my core group of people that we were strategizing. Like, how could we all align together with Built by Gamers bringing audience and Hand Cash bringing kind of the plumbing and the wallet and the payments, and Nifty Jig bringing the digital goods and the NFT, and then Haste Arcade being kind of a platform to implement all of this. What could we do? And so we spent probably 6 months kind of creating what's about to be released. And we talked about it at CoinGeek kind of as a introduction, but we're hoping that, in 2022, those partnerships, I think, are really going to blossom into something pretty powerful. And, I'm also, since then have met several other people in the space and are working with several other partners to try and see how we can create an ecosystem around Built by Gamers that really unlocks this use case and really is a highlight the utility play. So if you look at the esports landscape right now, in the last 2 months, most of the big organizations have gotten into the crypto space, and all of them are approaching it from an angle of collectibles and how to speculate on assets that go up in price. And I think what we want to highlight is that's very short-sighted and kind of a little scammy, in my opinion. And I think we will be able to really show the world how blockchain can gamify the fan experience. And I think we might be planting the seeds of something that becomes really the future of how fans interact with entertainment, period.
Absolutely.
So that's the short story.
Do you think that if you weren't, if you hadn't listened to people like Jerry Chan and like been a part of the BSV community, prior to all of this, that perhaps you would have been interested in going a different route with a different blockchain?
I would probably be agnostic and wouldn't be interested. Because if I look at most of my peers and my friends, that's their position still is most of them are just not interested in the space because it's too immature, it's too toxic, it's too undeveloped, it's too speculative. There's everything seems, well, actually, let me say it this way. Someone told it to me this way and it really resonated. Everyone that approaches me that wants to talk about crypto are all the people in my life that are the most shady. So it automatically has this taint to it where it's like everyone in my life who's shady is doing that thing. So I'm going to kind of transpose, project onto that my assumption that, okay, it's shady.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably, I'd probably still be in that camp.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think most of crypto, 95% of it's a scam and it's shady.
Well, BSV isn't a crypto, so it's
right.
it's different. It's in a different ball field. But as I understand it, your official role at Built by Gamers is the strategic advisor. So what is it that you find yourself doing for the company, the inner workings? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis for the company?
Well, I wear several hats, and in terms of BSV, I'm the strategic advisor. I mean, ultimately, I'm part of the board and part of the ownership team. So I have a lot of interest in other areas of it. So, on the day by day, there's the BSV advisory hat where I'm working with testing our ideas. So there's several ideas we have about how to implement, this technology. So I work with some of our creators, some of our managers, some of our talent to test ideas like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Because really, this is all new, and this is new territory for everyone involved. And so it's figuring out ways to translate the way that we do things currently into a blockchain version, like simple things like right now our creators use Twitch to stream, and Twitch has a whole bunch of native functions in it, like donations and subscriptions and channel points and incentives and other such things. And so it's talking through, hey, what would the BSV blockchain version of this be? And do you think your audience that it would be adopted? And so we're going through and trying to figure out like what is the way that we can launch BSV integration in the most successful way. So that's kind of what I focus on there. And then also we're working to create kind of some software solutions that facilitate all of that. And then the partnerships with our BSV partners and implementing kind of the onboarding funnels and how fiat ramps will be integrated and how we'll be able to sell merchandise and experiences and NFTs through our website. It's a whole bunch of work behind the scenes right now, getting that all implemented. So, and then besides that, I do a lot of other non-BSV related stuff there. Like, I think right now I'm technically the CFO also, stuff like that, boring stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, does that answer your question about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I mean, is there any, as the strategic advisor, sometimes it can be difficult to onboard people to use cryptocurrencies. Is there any worry that you have that people who may be into esports or may work for the company or come play for the company rather, because as I understand it, it's like teams that may have already gotten into cryptocurrency? Is there any worry or concern there that they may shy away from participating in the use of BSV or being a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a major issue. We've already had to part ways with some people because they were participating in NFT drops that we disagreed with and didn't want to be affiliated with. So there's been some of that, and they got rich, honestly. Like, we got some people that made a lot of money, basically going off and and doing the pump and dump thing. But that's a huge concern. And to be honest with you, I think part of our strategy is not to make our integration about BSV. We're not going out and saying, hey, buy Bitcoin SV because it's the best. We're just using it. It's really more about we're selling experiences and we're selling products, and we're just facilitating the experience and we're facilitating the interactions with BSV. So, I mean, there could be a world where we are using BSV in a whole bunch of ways and no one ever knows it. That's a possibility. Our ethos really is about creating opportunities and creating abundance more than it is about how can we promote a finite, a scarce asset. How can we promote it and drive up the price of it and get rich off that? That's really the antithesis of who we are and how we want to do this. So to answer your question, yes, getting everyone on board with it and our partners, it's a big undertaking, and there's a lot of it's not a lot of contention, but there's a lot of negotiation, and there's a lot of conversations about it. Like, quick example, there's some instances where we want to do some projects that some other blockchains are proposed as a solution for by some other partners. Like, I'll just give you an example. Let's say we've got some partner that facilitates tournaments for us. They might come to us and say, hey, we're doing this tournament and we already have a sponsor that's giving away XYZ crypto as a prize. We do our best to try and convince them to also include BSV or to take a look at BSV. So we do our best to do that, but there are instances where, and in the future, you might see BVG involved in some stuff where we don't have a choice. So, in the trenches, there is that going on. Let's just say BSV in its stage of its life cycle right now, where it's kind of in its infancy really, and where there's not fiat on-ramps yet. And there's some limitations that, the business hat of BVG has to take into consideration of. Maybe there are some things we can't use BSV for yet, and we have to, capitulate to using some other platforms.
Have other blockchains actually approached the BBG about
we get
ventures?
Approached every day by projects to promote, launch, whatever. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's what you guys are doing is pretty cool, and the whole team aspect of playing online games and being involved in esports. I mean, what blockchain wouldn't be interested in that? But I mean, it's obvious what blockchain is actually capable of handling. All if you wanted to put something gaming or streaming or something like on the blockchain, the only blockchain capable of doing that would be BSV. So
if you go look at every exchange like Coinbase, FTX, and all the big platforms out there, they've all aligned with an esports org. I've got a list of like 20 press releases about it, and all of them are limited to, we're going to launch NFTs like as collectibles, and we're going to promote a crypto exchange. Like, there's no other use cases that they can even embark on. Some of them have tried to crack the code of how can we create experiences. Like, if you get this NFT, it will give you access to things. But that's as far as they can go. Like, the idea of think of things like Duro dogs.
Yeah.
And the idea of you're evolving an NFT based on actions that you take. There's some really cool applications of that into esports about fan engagement. And so, like, just imagine for a second, imagine that your dog represents your fanship of BBG or any team. Every time you interact on social media, you level up, you get experience points. Every time like you buy merch, you attend a conference or an event. Think of all those things as activities that give you experience points. You could turn being a fan into a game, and people level up, and that's some really cool stuff. That'd be really fun to do. Only on BSV.
Yeah. So as I understand it, BBG also has a bunch of partnerships with, as you were talking about, Haste Arcades and Nifty Jigs and Hand Cash. How is the BBG interacting and utilizing the partnerships with these big players in the BSV community?
So Hand Cash, we will, as soon as fiat on-ramps hit, you'll see us start to do a lot of promotion to drive mass adoption. So as many users as we can, we're going to try and get them to get a Hand Cash wallet, because that's going to basically be your entrance into the ecosystem we're building. Right. And so I encourage any of the partners, anyone that wants to work with us, like the first thing I say is, if you have a platform, our users have to be able to log into it with Hand Cash, or else we can't promote it, because I'm not going to promote, a whole myriad of different identity solutions. So we're going to push users to Hand Cash. And then Nifty Jig, same thing. We're going to be launching some integrations with them this year, where we're going to, they are our provider of all digital goods. So all of the things that we're going to do, whether it's coupons or badges or NFTs, anything that's a digital good, we're going to be working with Nifty Jig to be the provider of all of that. And then Haste Arcade is similar to all of it, that we're going to drive user adoption. So we've got several different things with them to bring users, to promote development of games on it. BBG actually paid for some of the games that are on there. Like we paid to have them developed, just to help kind of get it going. We've worked with a lot of people behind the scenes to bring some other developers to the ecosystem. And then we've also done a lot of things to help Haste Arcade implement or get ILP into many other platforms. I'll just give a generic example, because ILP can apply to a lot of things more than just Haste Arcade. So ILP being the instant leaderboard payout. Think of even, if you think of Take It NFT, for example, like the idea of ILP on there, where the number of NFTs you've bought or the amount of money you spent gets you on a leaderboard. Or think of being a fan of BBG, like you buy merch or you do certain things, you could get on a leaderboard, and then that leaderboard might have perks. So, we're really helping Haste Arcade in as many ways as we can to help build that ecosystem. So in general, it's how do we help them become better for our users, and then drive lots of users to it. I almost feel like we're partners at this point, because we have like full team calls with them. It's not the full team. It's like, we've got, like, I have recurring calls with Haste, Hand Cash, and Nifty Jigs. It's not the full team, but it's a whole like team of people that get together every week. And then it's all the way we joke about it with each other is it's like we're doing school projects together, because it's, we do a whole bunch of group work where
everything that you're talking about right now, it gives me the sense or the idea of like what like football players do with that fantasy sports type stuff. And
that's gamifying the fan experience. Like, how do you turn being a fan into a game? And so that's my main goal in all of this is how do we revolutionize being a fan? And I think the things we're building will apply to all sports in the future. I think we're really building it with that in mind, that this can apply to a lot of things. So I'm hoping that we're pioneering a future fan engagement, system.
And this is all still like early stages, just as BSB is still kind of in its infancy. This seems like it's still in its infancy, but it seems like you guys are really pushing the envelope here. Like,
Yeah.
how do we get this going sooner rather than later?
I mean, the main thing right now is hand cash fiat on ramps. So everyone should blow up their Twitter. I'm hoping by the time that this podcast goes live, they've already launched. And so the conversation will actually be, how do we make it better? How do we streamline the onboarding process? There's a lot of work there. Like, we're just breaking through the ice right now. And it's really going to be, how do we get this user, the onboarding, the fiat ramp experience so smooth and streamlined that then millions of people can join.
Do you think the hand cash implementing the use of the Duro is going to help streamline gamers coming on and being more willing to use the platform? Is it going to help adoption with the blend of esports into the usage of like BSV?
It's a good question. I think the whole concept of the Duro is an experiment. So it's a let's see how it goes kind of a thing. Does it cause more confusion than it does utility? Does it eliminate confusion? I think the only way to really know how good of an idea or bad of an idea is to see how it plays out. I could argue both ways, but ultimately I believe that Alex and Rafa are pretty visionary and they are deliberate about what they do. And they have a process of how they, decide whether an idea is good or not. And so I buy into their vision. And if they're wrong, I buy into them because even if it's a bad idea, they're going to
make it work,
do what it takes to figure out that it's a bad idea and then make it work. Like, they're not afraid to pivot and be agile. And so they follow the process that I think is the best practice on how to arrive at good ideas. So I'm on board with them. So I will wait and see how it plays out.
Definitely. Well, is there anything that like you're really excited about that's coming out soon, or anything that maybe you could hint at that's going to be happening soon?
I guess the juicy thing I'd say is we are regularly, and our partners are regularly having conversations with some really, really big players in entertainment, show business, sports, and in business. Some of the biggest, Fortune 10, 100, like some really big players are all very interested in BSV. Just BSV is not ready for it yet. And so, and everyone's really sober about that. Like, okay, this is really awesome. I can't wait until, it's to the point where there's enough users. Like there's people that, want to drop NFTs on BSV blockchain, but there's just not enough users yet. There's not enough liquidity because,
are you going to be that ambassador between the parties here?
I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I don't know when this is going to go live, this conversation, but some things might have already gone. There's some PR, some press releases that are going to go out about us in the next little bit that will answer some of those questions. And it'll give you an idea of the kind of stuff we're dealing with, but not only BBG, but some of our partners and some of the companies that we've talked to. I think in general, we are on the radar of some just some mega players, and we just need to keep grinding and get this to the place where it's ready. And I think it'll become self-evident. So I just confidently keep my head down and just keep chugging along.
Do you think these big players are approaching you guys because they're interested in the fact that you're doing something different than a lot of these other, blockchains and people involved in esports and involved in different blockchains? And here you guys are pioneering something different, so the usage of something different, or do you think it's because they're approaching you because generally they just see the idea of built by gamers, being better than another esports team?
It's both of those things, and it's also nothing to do with built by gamers. Sometimes there's all kinds of different channels that relationships will pop up a lead. So it might be people know about what BBG's doing and they say, hey, we want to jump on that. There's instances of people saying, hey, we see what crypto in general is doing and we know you're into crypto. Tell us what's up. And then we say, hey, well, actually, let me tell you how we're different. And then they're like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, this is way better than what I thought it would be. And so those things happen. And then there's just through relationships that aren't even BBG, there's some of the partners that we have where there's some people that are saying, hey, how can we use what you guys have to build something cool for us? It's some pretty big stuff. And it's all, every single one of those conversations will always arrive at, this is great. How do we make it reach our goals? If it's to monetize something big, there's just not enough people in BSV to make it worth it. Let's say like the biggest star in the world came to us and said, I want to drop an NFT. It's hard to tell them to do it on BSV right now because there's just not enough users. So they're going to end up, going to Ethereum or Solana, knowing that eventually they'll come to BSV. And then the conversation will evolve to, well, you could be the catalyst that brings a whole bunch of people to BSV. Mm-hmm. And well, actually, that's usually their idea. They're like, oh, we could just bring our audience to BSV. And it's like, that's a great idea, but it's not actually really possible yet. Like let's say I had controlled a Twitter account with 100 million followers. And I said, hey, go play Haste Arcade right now. And they all went. What would happen? Like, number one, is Haste Arcade servers ready for that kind of traffic? Let's say that they scale it up. Where do they get the BSV? There's no ramps. So it will get there. It's just not there right now.
If we were to just continue scaling organically, how long do you think it would be before you would confidently be able to tell these other people that are interested in working with you guys and in getting into the BSV community? How long do you think it would be if we scaled organically up before you could confidently tell them, like, yeah, this is the play to make right now. We need to get on this.
The money, so the amount of money being raised right now and the scaling plans that are in motion in BSV and the developers that are working, we're gaining momentum. And I think that,
do you think the release of Terror Note is going to help?
Yeah. Well, yeah, everything I do is assuming that the infrastructure and the mining and all of that scales up and can handle it. And I think that it will be able to keep up. So I'm not really worried about the infrastructure side of things as much. It's mostly all of the companies in the space, and they've all, so everyone kind of was a startup, and they've kind of gone on this arc of, they're now at kind of this ceiling where it's like, okay, now we have to level up as an organization to be ready for the next chapter. I think everyone's pretty much there where it's, we proved out the idea. We've assembled a core team. We have either some runway of some, investment dollars, or we've got some revenue enough. I think everyone in the space is pretty much at that like first level. And it's really the next level. Everyone's going through that level up process right now of bringing on more institutional grade staff, more strategic thinkers. I think we're going through that level up phase right now. And based on my experience and what I see and everything I know, I mean, I think that we're going to do a step up this year. In 2022, there will be like a step up. And I think, depending on all the geopolitical stuff and how the rest of the crypto kind of ecosystem and the whole landscape all changes and evolves, could change all of this. But it just seems like I'm obviously going to say the next 18 months because that's the go-to timeline. But I just feel like 2022 will be the step up year for BSV. I mean, that just all the eggs are hatching right now, and I just see that step up happening. So that I think we're at the end of the beginning. My opinion.
Interesting. I like it. No, I'm interested to see what you guys come up with. I'm interested to see how you guys interact with the partnerships and get help raise awareness and increase adoption to BSV. I think what you're doing is very noble in the sense of somebody's got to be the ambassador towards different communities, because there's a lot of different communities out there that or places and people in general that BSV could expand to, like healthcare and gaming or whatever, and somebody's got to be that bridge. So I'm happy to see
there was conversations about all those things at CES. There were some really interesting people that came up to our area with use cases like healthcare, real estate, gaming, all of them that came up and were very surprised. Like really good conversations were happening, where a lot of people's eyes were open. And I just think that it's a microcosm of what's going to come, is like the message you heard from all those people were, I had no idea this kind of thing existed in Bitcoin, and it just makes sense. And you could just see it click for them. I mean, it's too early to say how this is going to happen, but there were some people that are building on other blockchains that came up to us, and it actually started off pretty contentious. I was right back in Clubhouse, we were like, all right, it was bang, 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 back and forth about, Ethereum versus BSV versus, scaling, and we went back and forth for like 20 minutes, and it was just like Clubhouse. It was really fun, where it's like, you know who I need to bring into this conversation right now? You'd usually ping somebody, but I would yell over. I'd be like, hey, Zach, come over here, and hey, Kurt, come over here. And, all the usual suspects I got, and, we were just in this like circle talking. And then all of a sudden it clicked in their head of how our scaling works.
The light bulb went off.
And I'll just say, like, that company ended up going to dinner with us, and there might be some really, really cool things that come out of that conversation.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. It's exciting for the space too,
So let me shill for a second. Anyone who's watching this probably is already on Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, but I think the next few months is going to be my favorite place to go and onboard / have conversations. I really love those spaces because it's a great way to work through ideas and for people to learn about things and to have some good conversations and meet some cool people. I mean, that's how you and I met. A lot of the cool people I've met in this space was in Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces. So I invite everyone to come and find the BSV rooms. There's kind of a pack of us that all run together the BSV crew on there. Come and join up because it's really fun, and it's a great way to learn new things and to, you know, test ideas out. Like we talk a lot about ideas, and we float ideas there and do some market research and such.
I like when people outside the BSB community come in those rooms and hang out with us and chit chat, and we actually get to debate a little bit and hear stories and you know, history, and it can definitely be very fun.
Yeah.
But I guess we could go ahead and start wrapping it up here. Taylor, did you have anything in particular that you wanted to leave? Any final thoughts or notes?
Well, there's the shout out to the BSV gang on Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. Hector would want me to say Twitter Spaces is the place to go. Shout out to all my homies on there. And then I would say shout out to Crypto Bits. I almost said Blitz. We joke about it so much on Clubhouse, all the different variations of the name. I have to make sure to get it right. Crypto Bits. I really appreciate, you know, your show, and I would invite anyone else to come on. Also, dang it, I had a really good thought teed up. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Say something so that it jars my memory.
Something.
Oh, dang it. I just think that, you know, 2022 is going to be very exciting. And, you know, I talked a lot about my little partnership circle with those people. But I mean, I guess we also should shout out kind of the other actors in the ecosystem. You know, I really like what the Twitch guys are doing. You know, their whole ecosystem is really cool. And I personally, in a personal capacity, am very involved in that stuff. And I haven't yet gotten into the rare candy scene yet, but I really like to see what's happening over there. And then, you know, shout out Relay X and Money Button and the Fabric. And, you know, there's so many people that are doing really cool things. And I just, you know, it's really good to see the different variations of projects and teams. And then there's a whole crew of people that are all behind the scenes doing like really boring infrastructure stuff that's not retail facing. You know, like Ty with Babbage, it's really cool stuff. So yeah, shout out everyone in the community that I think are awesome.
And obviously built by gamers.
Yeah. I mean, everyone should go and follow our esports team. Our Halo team is really good. We've got a pretty promising Valorant team. We just left the Call of Duty scene because there's some issues there. But you know, we're really putting major focus on Valorant and Halo going forward. So you'll see a lot of stuff about that, but definitely follow the socials of BBG.
Definitely. Well, Taylor, I appreciate you so much coming on the show today to chit chat with me for a little bit. And I can't thank you enough. But with that being said, guys, I do believe that's going to wrap it up for us today. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.